Hi, my name is Rajiv Sarkar, and in this video, I'm going to analyze film Dimensions of Dialogue by Jan Sonkmeyer, who is popularly known as Alchemist of Films. To begin with, he claims
Že nejsem filmář, já jsem vystudoval loutkářskou katedru, čili
from the profound list of his experimental filmography, I have selected his most renowned popular film, Dimensions of Dialogue. From the small clip, you must have noticed the unique and absurd style of film. Now, I will take you through my analysis of the film and other works of Zonkmeyer through the lenses of semiotics, psychoanalysis, Marxism, and Ortis theory. Semiotics. His films do not placate but question, examine, and provoke. Often they conjure haunting images of bewildering, absurd, and violent universe. Zonkmeyer is an artist who never conformed to a stylistic nor political fashion. He offers absurd metaphors and has Kafkaesque feel to all of his films. Dimensions of Dialogue is a film of triptych conversation. It is divided into three parts, that is, eternal dialogue, passionate dialogue, and exhaustive dialogue. To me, these are three dimensions of dialogue and can be related to actual dimensions such as length, breadth, and height we have in our own three-dimensional world. The word dimension in the title itself is a symbolic and puts the viewer in the mindset of thinking if the dialogue can really be measured or does it have any kind of form. In the eternal dialogue, three heads, which are made up of vegetable, cutlery and tools, and artsy tools, engulf each other. The head, made up of vegetable fruit, can be representation of a group or class of society which are majorly engaged in farming or cultivating food. We can identify them as having lowest socioeconomic background from other two heads. The tool and cutlery head can be representation of a working class or the middle class having slightly better socioeconomic status than the previous head. They can also be termed as the consumers. The third head, made up of artsy tools, are a representation of a class which makes decision and are having better socioeconomic status than other two previous heads. They can have the higher authority. The act of devouring and consuming shown violently in an eternal dialogue is symbolism of power dynamics and corruption caused by it. The looping represents how the cycle will continue to be there for eternity. At some level, Shonkmeyer employs oral fetishism as political metaphor of tyrannical state, whether communist or fascist, devouring its citizen. In the second part of trilogy, we see a man and a woman falling in love and dissolving into each other, representing sexual act. The lump of clay is a symbolism of a child, as it does not have any particular form. This transmutation of forms of soulless being reduced to passive state of brute reality. The natural material broken down into parts and then reconstructed is a veritable image of his own caustic view of institutionalism. In the last part, the exhaustive dialogue, two head bursts who are facing each other having very peculiar expression brings out one object from their mouth. Toothpaste for toothbrush, butter for bread, shoelaces for shoe, sharpener for pencil. The objects are representation of a dialogue offered by both heads. An argument is in place. When the object starts to mismatch, they go into disagreement. Jan Sonkmeyer's visual is not readily transposable into a rational equivalent. Like the emblems of alchemy, his symbols stand either in themselves irreducible. The purpose of his cinematography is catharsis, in equal measure both for himself and for the viewer. A perspective of film from psychoanalysis point of view. Schwankmeyer's work is inextricably linked to the audience's own conscious experience of both animate and inanimate realm. Eating is a symbol here used to represent the act of dominating someone by talking them down. The film taps into the viewer's imagination and subconsciousness to make them find hidden meaning and symbolism. How Marxism helped the film and his career. When the film was made in 1982, the country came out of communism and accepted the notion of socialism. The idea of people coming out freely expressing, communicating, and exchanging different ideas and topics, which was once not allowed before. The political and economical nature of the country influenced Jan Sonkmeyer to think and come up with the idea for the film. The freedom that people of Czech had now helped him freely explore any idea and experiment, which he did for many years and still continues on it. A quote by Jan Sonkmeyer in an interview. I never was a political artist, Mr. Sonkmeyer said, but I am an engaged artist because surrealism was always an engaged art. The idea of surrealism is to change the world, that's Marx, and to transform life, that's Riembar. In Czechoslovakia, Sonkmeyer's work was heavily censored in 1972 and he was banned from making films. In 1990, the year after the fall of communism in Eastern Europe, Jan Sonkmeyer made the most political of all his films, The Death of Stalinism in Bohemia, subtitled A Work of Agitprop, which attempted to review the post-war history of Czechoslovakia. What's your theory?
Loutka mě provází celý život a dokonce říkám, že všecko, co dělám, je loutkový divadlo vlastně. Ta loutka je jako ten magický předmět. To není hračka. Že tady u nás se na to dívají jako pimprlový divadlo, pimprlata, že jo, pro
He was
dětičky.
given a puppet theater by his father when he was 7, and his art and filmmaking are a continuation of those productions. Sonkmeyer is evidently extending the fertile tradition of Czech folk puppetry of the past 2 centuries. He is also continuing the renowned legacy of the Czech puppet film and experimental animation brought to mastery by Karl Zeman and Jiří Trnka. Yet, Sonkmeyer's definition of the film puppet is considerably broader than Zeman or Trnka. Unlike the traditional poetic lyrical approach of the two as artists, Sonkmeyer often explores the bizarre, the dark, and the absurd. All of his films have an undertone of black humor. Quote by Jan Sonkmeyer. All of my films play out on that sharp edge between what we think of as horror and comedy, or black humor. I think that our whole lives oscillate in just that way, and they are equivalent to a kind of comedy. So, really, all of my films could be called kind of comedy. Surrealism is a key component in his films. Sonkmeyer takes particular recourse to the Mannerist painting of Giuseppe Arcimboldo at the court of Emperor Rudolph with the 12 windy Jackson, transmuting forms influenced by Hermetic philosophy. He admits that he is unable to explain even to himself his absolute fascination with Arcimboldo except as a bewitchment from the past. Dimensions of Dialogue starts with 2 Archimboldesque. Sonkmeyer has explained his personal vision of surrealism. André Breton would not say surrealistic painting. He would say surrealism in painting. In the same way, I speak of surrealism in film. Surrealism is psychology. It is philosophy. It is a spiritual way, but it is not an aesthetic. Surrealism is not interested in actually creating any kind of aesthetic. Surrealism is not an art form. To characterize surrealism, you can say it is romantic movement of the 20th century. Each romantic period expresses 3 elements: love, freedom, and poetry. All of his films have a grim and grotesque feel. In the evocation of his uncanny cinematic scenario, Sonkmeyer's visual vocabulary is heavily inhibited to the early tradition of Gothic. He has made several films with Gothic themes, referencing Horace Walpole's The Castle of Otranto, Edgar Allan Poe's The Fallen of the House of Usher, and The Pit and the Pendulum. In his Alice, the uncanny element, the central component of Gothic, is foremost. He offers amazing and original association. A kind of kinetic collage image are often combined with music, resulting in a sophisticated form of rhythmical montage. Sonkmeyer often uses an unusual montage technique which may be considered his signature, the use of big close-ups unexpectedly juxtaposed with the main action. He gives a lot of importance to the texture and material he uses, mainly taxidermy, animals, clay, and real objects for his stop motions. This was my study and analysis of Jan Sonkmeyer's film, Dimensions of Dialogue, and his other work, which enriched my process of analyzing films. I would like to thank my professor Nina Sabnani for guidance and support.